Hi, my name is Samantha Denäe. Finally, we are here. I know it has been a long journey, guys. I know I was supposed to have met you all at the Shed Light conference in March, and I had some difficulties. So we just been, me and Tamara have just been trying to get things going, trying to figure out a time where I was able to record for you all and everything. And so today, we're going to be talking about fertility preservation. And so we're going to be holistically talking about fertility preservation instead of like your traditional Western medicines when it comes to IVF, when it comes to freezing your eggs. We're going to holistically talk about some measures that you can take so that you can preserve your fertility. If you are wanting to conceive, especially this is going to be for you. So a little bit about myself. I am a certified holistic health practitioner in Atlanta, Georgia, as well as a full spectrum doula. I am also an endometriosis educator, survivor, and advocate. My spare time, I like to pole dance. So I use pole dancing as a way to open up my sacral chakra, to help heal my womb space, and to help keep me grounded. Dancing is a big portion of who I am. And we're going to talk about dancing later as we talk about fertility preservation. But that is like one of the fun things about me. That people tend to like is that I pole dance, and it's a great just a great workout all in general. I'm gonna get on a tangent about pole dancing. Additionally, I've written a few books, so I am a self-published author. And let's talk about a little bit about my journey before we really start diving in. So I was diagnosed with endometriosis in 2000 and oh my gosh, 2016. I was diagnosed with 2014 I was diagnosed with endometriosis. Oh, the years are running together. And from there, being diagnosed at a time where being diagnosed with endometriosis wasn't a common kind of thing you heard of, I was searching for answers, searching for people who looked like me who had endometriosis. Within 3 years, I went from stage 1 to stage 4 and started having my periods become 90 days for 9 months out of the year for 4 years. Could walk barely, could eat, barely could drink water. And so was running out of kind of options. I didn't want to continue birth control treatments. I had tried different other treatments like the Lupron Depot. I had tried progesterone treatments. All of them were prolonging my cycle and putting me into, well, having me have menopausal symptoms. So I kind of was at a loss. I didn't want to continue with doing birth control. And by the time I got to my second surgery, when I got diagnosed with the stage 4 endometriosis, I was told that naturally I wouldn't be able to conceive. And so I was at a little bit of loss trying to figure out where to go. Who am I with endometriosis? You know, all of the things that we experience. And was led to holistic medicine, was led to people who are into herbal medicine, and kind of just started going down the rabbit hole. If you're into spiritual medicine and holistic medicine, it's a rabbit hole that you go down. And so I began to learn about herbs. I began to learn about energy healing, Reiki, and all of that led me into getting my holistic health practitioner's license, as well as my feminine womb holistic practitioner's license. And so that allows me to be able to practice rituals and treatments on the spiritual side with the holistic side. So like yoni steams, but we go into a deeper realm instead of you just sitting on a pod. Like we really dive into you and your womb and all of the trauma that you're holding, womb detoxing, all of those kind of things. That is what I specialize in. And so what I try to convey the most is healing the trauma, which we'll get into a little bit later. But trauma we hold in our womb space, and that is the reason why we have a lot of reproductive discord. And I learned that upon my journey of healing and learning how to release the trauma that I was holding on, release the guilt that I was feeling like that I had because I couldn't naturally conceive kids because of the endometriosis. And from there, I became a full spectrum doula, was introduced into the birth work space last year. And so all of the things that I had been doing up until receiving my doula certification had been in the fertility space. I just kind of did not know it. But that is the reason why I am here today now with all of the knowledge to be able to not only assist women with healing reproductive issues, but be able to help you conceive, also be able to help you when you are carrying your baby and all of the love that you need and learning about your birth rights as a parent. And then from there to your postpartum journey where, we'll help you get back on track, get used to being a mom if you're a first time mom, or get used to having another child if you already have children. And so just navigating through all of those circles as a holistic health practitioner. And so that's just a little bit about me. So we'll get into the fertility preservation. I don't have a PowerPoint, so I just want you guys to just listen, take notes, feel in your spirit, because a lot of this is going to be connecting with your womb. A lot of times we don't connect with her. We have a lot of animosity because we feel like our womb is working against us, and we want her to be able to do so many things, and sometimes we are at a standstill when it comes to like having reproductive issues or having issues with fertility. And so the first thing that I always teach my clients is the trauma that sits in your womb space must be healed. And it's very difficult. I won't say difficult, that's the wrong word. It is very overwhelming to work past the trauma, because it's childhood trauma, there is parental trauma, there is personal trauma within self, there is trauma with relationships, there's all different avenues of trauma. There's generational trauma that we may never know, anything about from our ancestors and what they were dealing with and how that just continued upon the bloodline. And so all of that trauma sits in the womb space. And then that physically manifests into a reproductive issue. So things like endometriosis, things like PCOS, fibroids, like all of that is from unhealed trauma that we are suppressing. And most times it's because it is overwhelming. We have life happening. We have this over here that's going on. We have kids over here that we may have to take care of. We may have spouses that we have to take care of, parents that we have to take care of, your own self that you have to take care of, work. And there's so many things that prevents you from really sitting down with yourself to really recognize what the trauma is, work through the trauma so that you can heal and get yourself to a better functioning space to allow you to have a better quality of life. And so as it pertains to fertility preservation, you should really get to know your womb. Name her. I have a name for my womb. Well, she named herself, but that's how close of a relationship you need to be with your womb, because your womb is yourself. She's just vibrating on a higher frequency. And we have ego as human beings. And so we tend to do things that puts our womb in jeopardy by selfishness, whether that's eating things that we shouldn't be eating, not exercising, not putting ourselves in the right environments when it comes to people or surroundings. It's just a whole plethora of things that could contribute to the reasons why you are not meeting your womb where she's trying to meet you. Because our womb really wants to work for us, but we got to meet her halfway, and we have to drop the ego, and we have to really start being accountable. And so for me, as a holistic practitioner, when I am talking with my clients, trying to help them get to a space where they are healing their wombs, but also in a space where they are wanting to conceive, wanting to have that connection so that they can produce their own child, especially if you're somebody with endometriosis, we know fertility is really, really rough for us. And so outside of the traditional ways of, preserving your fertility, like with freezing your eggs or with IUI treatments, yoni steaming, womb detoxing, diet, energy work, and personal trauma work are going to be some things that is going to be able to assist you with preserving your fertility, especially on the holistic and spiritual side, because your physicality is going to flow, but you have to work from the inside out. And I know with holistic medicine, because it is encompassing the whole body. It's not quick and fast like Western medicine. With Western medicine, you can take some ibuprofen, and in about 30 minutes, you're feeling a little bit better, if not completely better, a little bit better. Holistic medicine doesn't work that way. You can take herbs, but the herbs need to work through your system. So you have to continuously be on an herbal regimen so that your body can get more comfortable with the herbs so that they can start to do what they need to do. And so we're going to start with yoni steaming. And so if you're unfamiliar, yoni steaming is basically like brewing tea. At its basis, it's like brewing tea. You have a pot of boiling water and you put herbs in that are tailored to your reproductive issues. And you will sit on a chair that has a hole in it and allow the steam to penetrate through your vaginal cavity. And then that will help to cleanse out your reproductive space. Now, some basic herbs, because there are herbs that are a little bit more complex. And you can't blend all herbs together, but a basic set of herbs that will help with reproductive issues and with preserving your fertility and boosting your fertility as well, would be things like red raspberry, stinging nettle leaf, chasteberry tree, dun quai, which is a Chinese herb. It's my favorite herb. It is like the all-in-one herb, and I use it for everything. You need things like turmeric. Turmeric is anti-inflammatory. You need oregano. Like a lot of people don't know, you can get rid of UTIs and BV by using oregano. Oregano, the properties in oregano is antifungal, so it's going to help with that bacteria, that good versus bad bacteria. It's going to help to push all of that out of the body, because I know a lot of women really do struggle with the UTI and BV and the cycle that it continues to grow in because of the antibiotics. Use oregano. Red rose is also a good herb that you can use, and you can use it for anything. Roses has the highest vibration of any flower, and so I put that in all of my yoni steam blends, just not only for reproductive health, but for the energetic health that it gives to your spirit. Trying to think of a couple of other herbs. Basil is also a good anti-inflammatory and antioxidant type of herb. Cinnamon as well. Cinnamon is also a great herb for reproductive health. Like things in your cabinet, like you could even use, to give yourself a yoni steam. And if you don't want to give yourself a yoni steam, you could always find you a yoni steam practitioner, because sometimes you don't want to do it yourself. You want to have that guidance, because when you're doing a yoni steam, not only is the reason why we're yoni steaming is to cleanse out the reproductive space, but spiritually, it is for us to be able to start working through that trauma. Because once you sit down on the pot, it's all going to flow out. It doesn't matter how many years ago you have been dealing with the issue. If your spirit is still harvesting on it, it's going to come up. It could have been 10 years ago. When you sit down on that pot, when you sit down on that pot and it comes up, you got to work through that. Excuse me, I was getting a phone call. And so you have to work, through all of that trauma. That is where you start when you're sitting on that pot. And so generally I have my clients, we journal. So I'll give them a sheet of paper and I will have them write out whatever it is that they need to release. You can just write bullet points. You can write a letter to yourself. You can write a letter to the person that you may need to release. Whatever it is that you need to release, we're going to write that down while you're yoni steaming. Then we're going to go get bay leaves. And bay leaves are good for abundance. They're good for luck. They're good for bringing in the overall peaceful energy into your spirit. And so we're going to take bay leaves and we're going to write your manifestations on there, what it is that you want to call into your life and into your spirit. And we do a burn ceremony release. And that helps with your spirit and releasing that trauma, which is going to internally, physically help you to be able to preserve your fertility. Yoni steaming itself is great for fertility boosting. It's great for helping endometriosis symptoms. It's good for helping to shrink fibroids and hemorrhoids. It's good for a plethora of things. But I use yoni steaming as a tool to be able to really start to cleanse out that reproductive space that is clouded with tissue and stagnant old blood, we fibroids that may be too big, you know, for you to be able to carry a baby. Once we start shrinking all of that out with the reproductive, with the with the herbs. Womb detoxing and massaging. So this is a technique that we use with castor oil. Castor oil has a lot of benefits when you use it as a compress on the womb space. And so it's going to help to start removing that tissue, that stagnant blood, but it's more of a topical. And so we rub in that castor oil and we massage it. And we massage that womb. And we get all of that stagnant energy that is just sitting out of the womb space, and we flow it out. And womb massaging and detoxing is going to also like really cleanse out whatever issues you may be facing when it comes to your fertility. Dancing. This is fun because everything doesn't have to be so serious, you know, when it comes to trying to preserve your fertility or when you're trying to work through reproductive health issues. It already sucks a lot out of us. And so we have to have something that's gonna, you know, kind of keep us happy, keep us on our toes. And so I always tell my clients, move your hips. If you don't do anything else, move your hips, because the trauma that sits in your womb is just sitting, and moving the hips is going to be one way where you can transfer that energy out. And so, like I was telling you guys, I'm a pole dance enthusiast. And the reason why I started pole dancing was because I was told I could not conceive children. They told me I was never going to conceive children because I had so much endo tissue that was in my fallopian tubes, and it was blocking any egg from being able to transfer to my uterus, you know, for me to get pregnant. And so once I found out I couldn't naturally have kids, once I had got really sick with endometriosis, I had lost 40 pounds in 4 months because I couldn't keep any food down or any water down. I was literally like depleted. And I looked at myself and I said, oh, I have to figure out something. I was a person who did CrossFit. CrossFit was way too strenuous for someone with endometriosis because every time I would go work out, if I wasn't already on my period, I would start bleeding while I'm working out every single time. And so I had to stop CrossFit and I had to find another way to exercise outside of doing yoga, because yoga is very peaceful. And yoga is also good for fertility preservation too on a holistic and physical side when it comes to exercising. But I needed something with a little bit more weight. And so I thought about pole dancing. And I said to myself, well, I can look at my body while I pole dance, so it'll help me fall back in love with myself. It'll also, you know, help to boost my confidence because I had lost all that weight and I felt like I looked sick. And at that time, I wasn't telling many people that I had endometriosis. I was kind of just like really being quiet about it. And so when people would see me, they would notice how small I am and would tell me, you know, I looked like something was wrong with me. And so I didn't like that. And I just felt like if I started pole dancing, I would at least not only get a workout in, because it's a full body workout, you have to be able to lift your own body weight. Even if you don't do any pole tricks, dancing in itself is tiring and it is a workout. And so I figured if I could look at my body in the mirror while I'm working out and dancing, maybe I could fall back in love with my body. And that's exactly what happened. And dancing and moving the hips is so great for opening this sacral chakra. Your sacral chakra sits here in the womb space. That is where everything is housed reproductively and creatively. So if you are having any issues when it comes to reproductive health, when it comes to libido boosting, or when it comes to just your sex drive in general, having moisture in the vaginal cavity, when it comes to being creative, if you are a person who likes to write or paint or do anything that is creative, all of that is housed in your sacral chakra. And so when you have blockages, you have issues with completing tasks, or you're having some kind of issue reproductively, and that's because of a blockage. So dancing, moving the hips helps to remove that blockages, and you also feel great afterwards. And it's not just tailored to dancing. You can stretch the hips. There are so many hip stretches that you can do to open up the hips. Pelvic floor exercising, because that's going to help. That's going to help with it's going to help with preserving your fertility, but on a physical level, because when you're trying to preserve your fertility, your body can't feel any stress or not a lot of stress. And so once you take out the stress of the day, the stress of the world, the stress in your personal life, if your body is still feeling some kind of anxiety and some kind of stress, it's going to tense up and it's going to be hard for you to be able to reproductively be where you want to be, whatever it is your goal is reproductively, whether that's just you want to heal or you want to be able to conceive or you want to be able to, you know, whatever it is, all of this is going to help. Diet is super important, which I know everybody knows. Like we all know diet is important, but it's extra important to really monitor what you're eating, how you're eating, body temperature, because that's something that you always want to be mindful about too, is body temperature. As women, our hormones are always going up and down, up and down, up and down, every day, all day. Body temperature goes up and down along with your hormonal changes. And so you want to be aware of where your body temperature is. You can seed cycle. Seed cycling is a great way to preserve your fertility. Also is a way for you to start getting to know your menstrual cycle. So many of us don't know our menstrual cycle. We don't know how the menstrual cycle works. We don't know. Most people don't even know that the menstrual cycle and your period are two totally different things. Your period is a phase within your menstrual cycle, and your menstrual cycle has 4 different phases that happens throughout the month, and it just starts over each month when you have your period, because your period is the first phase of your menstrual cycle. So getting to know your menstrual cycle, getting to know the symptoms that you have, depending on what phase of the menstrual cycle you're in. Like for me, for instance, during my luteal phase, which is the phase before your period starts, I am extremely hungry. I also cannot hold my bladder. Once that phase ends and I'm getting ready to start my period, my appetite is not big, it's very low. And I can hold my bladder all day long if I want to. Things like that is what you should know about your menstrual cycle, because that's going to be the key to being able to preserve your fertility, is being able to know yourself well enough to know what happens through each phase of your menstrual cycle. When it comes to seed cycling, just to go back, seed cycling is when you eat a certain seed during a certain phase of your menstrual cycle, which is usually in 2 halves. So it's in your first 2 phases of your cycle, you would eat like sunflower seeds or sesame seeds or what's the other seed? There are other seeds. There's like 3 seeds that you can eat while you're seed cycling, but you will eat 1 seed during the first half and another seed during the second half. Just a handful. It's not have to be a whole bunch of seeds that you're eating on a regular basis, but that's going to help to regulate your hormones. That's the biggest thing, is you want to know your menstrual cycle and know how to regulate your hormone. And so your hormone levels can be where they need to be. If you don't get your hormone levels checked, but you want to preserve your fertility, please start. You need to know your FSH levels. You need to know your LSH levels. You need to know just whatever it is about blood in general. Like if you're not a person who goes to get your labs done, you need to get your labs done, but you need to be specific when you're getting your labs done with your gynecologist, so that they can put orders in to learn to check your hormonal levels, because you need to know your progesterone, testosterone, estrogen, like all of those levels. You need to know all of that to be able to know how and the best ways to preserve your fertility, especially if you want to go the holistic route versus the Western medicine route. All of that is going to assist. And so if you want to, because I feel like this is the best advice that I could give you, if you want to holistically preserve your fertility, please get to know your woman. Sit with yourself and go through all the trauma that you are suppressing, because that's going to be the biggest blockage that you have to push past in order to be able to preserve your fertility on a holistic and spiritual side, so that way physically it can manifest the way you like it to. If you are someone who wants to try Western medicine, by all means, please do that. If you want to freeze your eggs and go see an IVF or IUI specialist, please do that, because now the difference between the IVF and the IVI is IUI is when you're going to take the egg and it's gonna be implanted. IVF is from in vitro fertilization. Is where they will take the egg, they will take the sperm and the egg, and they'll put it together in a petri dish, and they'll be able to make a baby that way. Whatever way is best for you, go that route. If you want to intertwine Western medicine and holistic medicine, you are able to do that. If you want to start off with Western medicine and then wean yourself off to holistic, you can. There are plenty of ways where you can attack being able to preserve your fertility. But the biggest thing is sitting with self, knowing your womb, healing that trauma that has us in the space in the first place. It's tough, but it's necessary. And one of my favorite ways to work through trauma healing is to do mirror work. Outside of dancing, is to do mirror work. You sit in the mirror for however long you want to sit in the mirror for, but you stare at yourself. Don't say anything, just stare at yourself, and whatever emotions come from staring at yourself, go with it. Whether that's crying, smiling, laughing, screaming, whatever it is that you feel after staring at yourself for a few minutes, go with that, and then ask yourself, why did you feel those emotions? And whatever thought comes first, that's probably what's on your spirit the most that you need to work through. I was a person who did not like to cry. I would hold my tears in all the time. And I had to learn that holding tears is suppressing emotion. It is harvesting energy that is not for you, because you are holding on to things that no longer needs to be in the space of your aura. And so now I cry all the time. I don't hold it in, and it's very refreshing. It's very releasing for me. And so sit in the mirror with yourself, go through those emotions. It's hard, but it's necessary, because to be able to walk in the journey and the path that you want to, you're going to need to have to heal yourself first. And that's the most important thing. Thank you. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope this was very, very informative. If you all have any questions, please feel free to either email me at Samantha Denäe booking@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at _Samantha Denäe_, or you can type in the Endo Educator. It will also pop up on Instagram that way, and on TikTok at the Endo Educator. I have a lot of things that I talk about on my platform, between endometriosis, feminine reproductive health, as well as doula information and birth rights as a parent, and what you need to go through when it comes to contractions, just all the things when it comes to being a mom. They are all on my page. If you have any questions, just send me a DM. If you would like any type of servicing, please send me a DM. I do yoni steams, womb detoxes and massages, full body massages, Reiki massages, readings. If you need a doula, whether that's fertility, birth and labor, or postpartum, or all three, please contact me. I do overnight postpartum care services. So please give me a call, contact me. If you know people who may need a doula or any of my services, have them send me a DM. I thank you all so much for your time. I hope that you have a blessed day and a blessed rest of the day. Thank you.